Daniel from Wolftech, thank you very much for joining us today.
Always a pleasure.
Great. And we're literally a few weeks away from IBC. We've been working together on some new demonstrations, and I think things which will make a real difference to some of our joint clients. And when we're looking at innovation, really, I think it's important to understand the environment that we're going to and really what are important to clients. And I think some of the things that are important to clients are particularly being able to track the genealogy of content that's originally shot all the way through the editing process, ultimately into the archive, and being able to repurpose that commercially, perhaps as a commercial library. And really, I think it's worthwhile talking about how we've enabled that. And maybe Daniel, you could start with the kind of the Wolftech part of the workflow.
Mhm. Yeah, so on the Wolftech side, really, we're all about story planning and collaboration. So all of our customers will be able to book different equipment for their stories. And the idea is that, people don't need to navigate many systems, that all of the information can be hosted in Wolftech and you could see the status of everything, right? So when you're booking units, say a LiveU unit or a Sony camera that is connected, we're able to read the information from the list of those units in LiveU and the transmission ID, etc. So we can actually track that unit, and the producers and reporters can see the status of that unit, whether it's active, non-active, and sometimes getting a thumbnail as well as a preview of that unit right inside of the story. So it's very important to know which units are assigned to those stories. This also facilitates the collaboration on location, because the reporters and producers on location can also see, which equipment has been assigned to them, and also closes the loop in terms of the security aspects, making sure that, those units are not recording anywhere, they're actually recording to the story that they should be working on. And when it comes in terms of the flow into Avid as well, there's a lot of planning metadata, and it's sometimes hard to reconcile all of that planning metadata. And I think this is where the innovation comes in here, because not only can we pass the story ID and actually bound all of the media that is being recorded by those units to the specific story, so everyone working on that story can see the media right away, but we can also pass in the originator as well. So we can say, all of these recordings is something that we are producing. It's not third-party material that we're licensing. And I think this is going to streamline a lot these rights reconciliation at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, very good. So Simon, Daniel mentioned a couple of things there. One was LiveU and also ingesting into Avid to make sure the metadata passes through the workflow. Specifically for IBC, how is that being achieved? And also, what are we doing with LiveU, which is new for the show?
So we'll be demonstrating at the show the integration solutions we have for getting the content through into the Avid from the LiveU source system, amongst others. The main part of that is to get the content through from the LiveU system as quickly as possible into the Avid editing environment. And as we say, always make sure that it goes along with metadata and with that useful information as well. It's not just about media, we need to make sure nothing gets lost in between. So the new changes we're making alongside LiveU for the show is to support growing file ingest. So not just getting content into Avid and having the growing file support within the Avid, which has been there for a long time, but also mean we can read the files from LiveU as they're being created, as the actual source is still in record. So the content can be usable within the Avid system, even while the recording is still going on with the metadata. So the media will get through very quickly, but that metadata link will always be there. And that metadata link, as we say, is the story information, that useful information for that individual recording, but also that effectively parent information that's describing what that is. So when that's used in a sequence and used in a finished project, that can go out to air, but we'll know from what we can do within Medway what's been used within the sequence and what the original source assets were. And that can be broken down and tracked and used again going forward to keep that link as we go through. So it's about the media and the speed of media work, but also that completeness with the metadata and maintaining the full breadth of information that's been gathered for the assets throughout their life cycle.
So, we're sort of transforming the workflow end to end, all the way from the kind of pre-planning process. And I think what it means is let's say a camera crew have gone out to do a shoot. Effectively, the camera or the LiveU system itself are preloaded with the story. When the cameraman hits record, or lady, I guess, hits record, it writes directly to the file in Avid via our integrations, and then starts moving the media with the metadata attached, which synchronizes it all up. There is no requirement to have a scheduled ingest. There's no need to have anybody recording an incoming feed. It just arrives. Maybe, Simon, you could just talk about some of the behavior in the file transfer, because it's not quite how you expect. In some ways, it's better.
So yes, because of the style of systems working with on the source, that initial recording is coming through from, in this case, the LiveU system, and is passed to us as chunks. So they're uploading as chunks, so it's very easily protected against connectivity problems on that side. But as soon as we see that first chunk arriving, we can start the transfer into the Avid environment, and we'll then add the extra chunks as they grow. So the users within the editor will see just a file which is growing, and in the background, we're continually topping it up. So after we've set up the initial transfer, we catch up to the point of recording, and then just keep everything topping up until it completes. Then as soon as the recording finishes, we see that, we know everything's come to an end, and we update the asset and the metadata so they know that it's completed, they get the correct duration, they get it shown as a completed asset, and that will come through as well. So it's, from the user's point of view, they just see a growing file. In the background, we're working in a way that guarantees the speed and the stability of the connection as much as possible.
And Daniel, I think it would be interesting to talk about the richness of the potential richness of the metadata. So, you know, if let's say a client comes to you and says, well, actually, you know, I'd like a lot more metadata passed through. How do you see the limitations from your side?
I mean, it's just configuration. Wolftech is probably the most flexible system I've ever seen. You can configure fields to your heart's content. Any planning metadata that could be valuable, from, let's say, location metadata to guests involved in the shoot, to contributors, to crew involved in the shoot. Any planning metadata could be mapped potentially, yes.
And that's really interesting, because that takes you into a number of different potential workflows, and the ability to run queries on, you know, metadata that's inherent in the system. As you say, it could be who the crew were, who the talent was, the location, all of those things, which, you know, traditionally have been a very manually entered process. So, you know, I'm very excited about showing this at IBC. It's kind of, what are your expectations?
I'm also very excited. This year, we're also coming up with 2 ways of displaying Avid Media Central within Wolftech. So that's sort of the final end of this workflow. So obviously, as you're ingesting files into Avid Media Central, we can either create a folder inside of Avid Media Central and see all of the contents inside of it. We also have a unique ID, so even if you move the folder around, we'll find it. We don't need a file path. Or we can have a smart search tagged to our media storage. Therefore, any ingest that has that story ID in any of the folders in Media Central will be able to preview within your story. So all producers, journalists can just focus on Wolftech, on the story. In their app, they can see the devices, the media, the people involved, all of the planning, and start collaborating with it. So very excited for this show. I think it's a great breakthrough.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Daniel. And I think customers who come in hopefully will spend time with us. You know, I think it's a really good joined up story with ourselves and LiveU and also Avid. So, Daniel, thank you very much for your time today. I know you're a very busy guy, so I appreciate your time. And I think from our side, that's it. Simon?
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
Thanks, Daniel. Bye.
Bye.